Monday. I'm sitting in for Mark for the moment. We had a son who had a breakdown and he had to go and rescue him. So kid stuff, family stuff. But here we are. It's Monday and the weather stinks outside. You wouldn't know it's April. I'm going to answer a couple questions because they might be of interest to you folks out there that we've gotten asked this week. Tell you about an adventure that we had and why we had it. And then hopefully Mark will be in. So he got home but needs a bite to eat yet. So that's the plan for tonight. Wanted to let you know, if you go to the Anyone Can Farm experience, there are t-shirts. Someone asked about t-shirts. It's your opportunity to wear your Anyone Can Farm colors. Hello there, Inga. Nice to have you. There's also coffee cups and water bottles. And you can get the aprons that we wore at the charcuterie class and that Mark and I were wearing in the videos that Joe made from that. We have those available for you now. They are good quality aprons. They work really well. They're comfortable. Welcome, Grassroots. So anyonecanfarmexperience.com. You can load up on your merch, wear your colors, and support the Schoolhouse Project because any of the proceeds from that go towards that build-out project that we are going to be starting really, really soon. We're hoping to have it done so that we can have this really great place for everybody to come and learn homesteading stuff by this fall. That's the goal. It's a rather ambitious goal. So we need your help to get it done. Get it done. Hey, Beth, I'm going to address a couple things that you contacted us about. So nice to have you. So help us out. If you have other things that you can help out with or want to help out with, get hold of us because we're all about whatever it takes to get it done. So, yeah, questions this week. Beth asked a question on the Anyone Can Farm Tribe page group on Facebook, which if you're not part of that, you ought to be because there's a lot of good stuff and a lot of great people with a lot of great information. And she got some really good answers on a bookkeeping question. We encountered something like that too when we started out, where you're raising things just for yourself, just for your own family, and then you start to sell a little bit and then a little more, and then next thing you know, you're growing into a business. So how do you figure out what's what and separate out what the family uses versus what you sell and costs, and because you got to tighten up your bookkeeping and all that. For starters, highly recommend, because it's very inexpensive and incredibly easy, to set up an LLC. We had a bookkeeper that set us up as an S Corp. So Baker's Green Acres is actually a corporation. Get some advice on that. But for sure, an LLC is so easy. And it gives you a lot of protections and a lot of structure to set up your bookkeeping with. Then you basically start tracking what comes in and what comes out. Write it all down. When we very first started out, we were doing our taxes with H&R Block, and they were really cool. They gave us a nice planner book, and I just had to write all the expenses in there, and they had all the categories that we had to keep track of for the IRS. So I got a good feel for that. And then income. And again, I could keep track of different categories. And then they plugged it all into their system and made it come out however it needed to come out. So that was a good way to kind of get our feet wet and get used to it. When you're looking at filing as an LLC or bigger, highly recommend getting an accountant's opinion because they know what you need to keep track of. They can give you advice on how to understand your numbers. We run into so many people. You see signs along the road all the time. Eggs, $2 a dozen. I know darn well they aren't raising chicks, getting their replacement chicks, getting any compensation for their time, and paying for feed and cartons, anything that looks decent, for $2 a dozen. That's ridiculous. But that's what they're comparing to store prices. And you can't do that. If you want to sell your products, you can't sell based on what they're selling them for at Walmart. You can't compete. And you are selling an entirely different product. So it's really important that you start tracking your expenses, even if you're doing it at a homestead level, just for yourself. Track your expenses so that you know what you've got into it, so that if you grow it, as you grow it, even if you've got just some family members that want you to grow for them. Somebody asked me about that today. What are you charging for chicken this year? Because my friend, his whole family wants him to grow for them and butcher for them. Like, wow, that's a lot. So if you know your numbers, though, then it's really easy to figure out what you need to charge, whether you charge per bird or per pound or however you need to do it. But you know, and you appreciate the food you're eating, and you can help the people that you support you and love you to appreciate you and appreciate what you do, because you can back up, yeah, this is what I need. And your time is worth something. Never, ever give away your time, because time is your most precious asset on this planet. So unless you are willfully donating it to somebody, doing it as unto God, for that reason, don't give away your time, because time that you spend raising chickens, you're not spending with your children. You're not spending it with other people. You're not spending it learning other things or doing other things. So that time is valuable and worth it. So in your accounting, account for your time. Keep track of that. As far as figuring out what the heck do these numbers mean, how do I understand them? One of my favorite movies is Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, and he calls them counting mutants because they understand the numbers and they love to count things. They absolutely love it. So consult a counting mutant, especially if you're not a great numbers person yourself, which I'm not. I'm more of a writer, and sometimes my creative writing skills intersect with my numbers. Strange things happen. But we have a good accountant, and he gets everything untangled at the end of the year, and we figure everything out. And I've learned how to use QuickBooks and how to track things and how to understand the numbers that come out at the end, so that I feel fairly confident that what we charge for things is what it costs. And it's a real number. And we feel good about doing it year after year because we're getting compensated for our time. If you're not compensated for your time, you'll very quickly not want to do it. It takes the fun out of it. So that's the accounting thing. Take time to know your numbers, get some help, get some consultation for it. Anything you do, whether it's having Mark come and consult for how you set up your homestead or focus on this or that or put together this and that, or consulting for how to run your books and how to manage the business end of your farm, it is worth getting consultation. And an accountant is a really good person to have in your pocket. So that's the bookkeeping question. The other one that I was going to address is meat hanging. We had two people, Beth, you weren't the only one this weekend, with funky stuff going on in the hanging room. I even had funky stuff. When the weather starts warming up like this, and now Sean's down in Texas, and so he's got a little different case, but it's still the change of season from the cold, dry winter to the warm, moist of spring and summer, and it causes the bacteria to go crazy. And so you'll have a lot of bacterial overgrowth in your hanging room, and you really have to stay on top of it every day. If you don't, you end up with crazy things going. And Sean has a funky smell. I don't know that it's bad. So even though it smells like blue cheese, it's just the molds and the funguses doing their thing. Just keep an eye on it and make sure you don't get green or black mold, because that's bad. A flat white mold is what you really, really want. You can't buy a sausage, at least I have not found one in our small metropolis around here, that has the white mold on the outside, and you can eat the sausage and just hang the casing in your hanging room and inoculate it that way with the bacteria that you want. So that's out. You got to buy it. But you can keep an eye on it and don't let the white stuff go. Really carefully manage your conditions, because right now it's changing. It's part of the season. Just like I've been talking about, you need to change out your gut flora and fauna. And that's why you do some extra fasting. Do a few days of fasting, like one meal a day kind of thing. Do a detox. I'm leading one right now. But your hanging room is an indication of what's going on. That's like an external sign. It's going on inside your body. It's going on inside your animals. Your animals are detoxing and changing out their gut flora and fauna, and you'll see it going on in other places. So keep a very close eye on your hanging room. If something goes wrong, you clean it up with cider vinegar. Beth cut a bunch of stuff out because you realize at that point, if it's poorly trimmed, you've got pockets and it's going to hide stuff and you're going to be fighting it forever. So you make sure everything's nice and smooth. Do what you have to do. Let it hang. The thing that you can do if you have to do a major overhaul right now, you want to make sure it's protected when the flies start coming out. You can make a mixture of half flour, half lard. So back in the day with these lard animals, that was part of why. They would turn the lard back in to protect their meat. And you can smear that on once you have your primary cure on it. And that will help protect it and keep the moisture balance, as well as keep flies out of anything that might look good to them. Helps protect it from that. So just keep an eye on stuff. If you have things hanging, and keep the vinegar handy, and don't be afraid to treat it hard if you need to. But that flour and lard mixture works really good on the really big pieces like prosciuttos. So we went on an adventure this weekend. Whenever you're ready, Mark, you can take over. Okay. But he's taking a breath a minute, I guess. But we got our second weekend, which was really fun. Pyrenees dogs are the backbone of our predator protection program. And we needed to replace. Obi just doesn't get around, although he's feeling much better now that he's on his thyroid medication. Claire and Obi have been sulking for a week because not only do we have new puppies to replace them, but we restricted them so they can't chase cars. But Claire still had fun chasing things last night. I was cleaning out the hen house a little bit, bedding the nest. She chased a skunk in there. It was really exciting. And a pile of clothes sitting out, getting aired out. And I don't even know how we're going to salvage that. But Pyrenees, puppies, and I'm sure we'll be showing you those puppies. Joe will be showing pictures. So stay tuned for those if you're on Instagram or Facebook, because he'll show you all the good stuff. Mark's grabbing him. He's huge. He's almost 20 pounds already at 8 weeks. He is one of Obi and Claire's grandson. So I don't know if we'll breed him back to Obi or not, but, kind of bringing the bloodlines back. But he's huge and he's fun. His name's Louie. You going to show him off?
You can.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure what I'm talking about. Wait. This is Lou. He's so big, he doesn't like being picked up, I don't think. And once you got him up and you got him situated, he's okay. All right. I had to just go on a rescue mission. This puppy, believe it or not, is 8 weeks old. I don't know how heavy he is. I think he feels like he's 25 pounds. Good boy, Lou. The kid's named him Louie. And he named him after Louis Zamperini. If you guys never read the book Broken, my kids really like listening to it on tape. All right, I'm going to put you down, Lou. And then you can go back to finding a place to lay down. That's what you do well. All right, you guys. I'm not sure what we're all about tonight. I had to go. My son Keith was on his way back from school. He's going to EMT training down in Saginaw, which is about an hour and a half away. And so he's commuting, and he's on his way back, and his clutch went out. Oh, thank you. Mm-hmm. So he called me to go get him, and I did. And so I'm back, and 20 minutes late, but I'm here anyway. So that was nice that Jill could step in and cover me. Monday, 4th or 5th? Today's the 4th. We woke up this morning to have it's snowing really good, and it's supposed to, and it's still spitting. It's going to be snowing till about 10 o'clock tonight. Had about 3 or 4 inches accumulate, but then it got warm, so it's just kind of melting down. But you could go out and have a pretty good snowball fight right now, that's for sure. My kids didn't get too psyched when they saw the snow coming down. Everybody's kind of tired of it. But Frank went out with his motorcycle and tore it up. And I got to have a chat with him about that. So we got Andy with us. We got Inga, the Ice House. Debbie Van Fossen's with us. The DeClerc. Grassroots and Grains. All right, that's a new one. Welcome. Inga. All right. You know what? I don't really have a subject to talk about tonight. I'm kind of remiss in my duties. It's been one of those days. I had a bunch of things that I had to get done, and I was just bearing down on them. I got a little bit overwhelmed this morning, I got to tell you. I looked around here, and I said, I got to get this done, and this done, and this done. And it just seemed like, I couldn't prioritize them. So I came in here, and I sat down, and I made a list on a piece of butcher paper, and it had 6 things on it. And I just said, okay, this one's easy. So I did it. And it was just a phone call, getting an estimate on concrete. And the next one was calling, getting an estimate on some steel roof. And, it was easy. And I checked them off until I was done. And then probably the most important one was I wanted to get into Cadillac to see, you guys I've told you about Mancy Motors. John Spears has been a customer of ours for 2 years. What would be last November. We processed their chickens for him and his family. And the first time he came in here driving I guess it was about a 69 Ranchero, I think. And so we got to talking cars and stuff. And he says, that's a Jeep you got up there, huh? And yeah. And so we went and looked at the Jeep, and he says, for sale? And he's a used car dealer, right? And so he's very much like some of the folks that I met out in Texas, and very much like my son Keith, they hold on to everything very loosely and buy and sell, buy and sell, buy and sell. And that's what he's been doing it for a lot of years. And now he's got a yard in Cadillac right in town, right on the main drag. And he's got a lot there and a pretty nice maintenance facility. He's got some good guys working for him. And I've been looking for, a facility like that and guys that really want to work on cars for a long time. And they really know what they're doing. And I bought the Pilot from John. And so I was over there today. I hadn't seen him since January, but I stopped in and we're going to do some consulting for them. And I wanted to make sure that, just make sure everything was good over there. It's not Mancy Motors anymore. So he's broken away from the guy that actually owned the license. And now he owns his own license, and it's Spears Automotive. So if you guys need a used car, he's the guy to talk to around here, in my humble opinion. Because we've bought quite a few used cars, and I've been disappointed. I really have. We used to have a good place here in McBain. There was they didn't sell used cars, but they had a couple of mechanics working there. And they were really good. The guy's name was Kevin McKay. I haven't seen him in 10 years. He was really good. And he had another fellow working with him who was not quite as good, but still pretty good. And he blabbed a little too much, but Kevin would keep his nose in a groove. And they pumped some work out of there. And they did good work. And, I don't really have a lot of time to be working on cars. And like my wife has a problem with a car. It's like, maybe it'd be better to just take it in there, like a tire or something like that. It's good to have guys like that around that's their business and they know what they're doing. That's not our business. We're not auto mechanics, although Keith is pretty good. He's going to be an auto mechanic now if he wants to get his car back on the road because the clutch went out of it on the way home. But he probably won't. He's saying that he's probably going to just part it out and say goodbye to it. And he's got his eye on something else that he's going to buy, drive for the next, it's a 7-week class and he's been there. This is his 4th week. So he's got to drive for another few weeks. And he doesn't want to take his pickup because it's pretty far. And he'll work it out. So anyway, I was over there. I got that done. And it's funny how you have things that, like I wanted to do that last week, but I never quite made it over there. And so I finally got it done today. While I was there, I made an appointment to get the Pilot in on Wednesday. So that'll get done and things will just drop into place. Hopefully this snowy day is one of the last ones we're going to have because it was a real morale dampener. I got to thinking on the way home. I had a phone call with one of the guys in the tribe, and as soon as I talked to him, I realized that, what is the primary mission of our homesteads? It really is our family, right? It's our family. It's a place for our family to live. And then as we do what we're doing there, everybody gets fed, gets recreated, gets learned. They get trained. And then next from our family is our community. That's our extended family, right? Just so happens, I'll relate this to you. We went to Devon's. I've told you guys about Devon before. Devon Ehlers, he's my 24-year-old friend that is quite different than anybody that you will ever meet, I guarantee you. And I've met a lot of people, and he's quite different. He's just a very different guy, and does not really care what anybody thinks. He's just doing his thing. He traps, he butchers, he farms, and he buys and sells equipment. He's going places. He is really going places, and I really appreciate him a lot. And he had a puppy. His dogs had puppies. I think, yeah, the male up there is one of Obi's pups. And so his female, which is a different female, had pups, and he said, "Are you going to need a new male?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And we got a female from Copperhead Farm, the Kronk family. So we've got our next generation here, even though we've still got Claire and Obi. But Obi can't impregnate her, evidently. He's just not getting it done. So we went up there, and on the way back, we stopped at a place called the Tap House. It's in Lake City, and it used to be just like a beer bar. And they've cleaned it up a little bit, and it's got better food, is what we were told. I never went in there when it was just a beer bar, ever. I'd never been in there. But somebody told us that it's a lot better. It's kind of nice. And so we stopped in another time when my son Sam was home, and it was not bad. And so we decided we were going to stop in there and kind of make a day of going to get the puppy and stopping at the Tap House and, spending some time together. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us, all my family. And so we stopped in and had, burgers and stuff. And I didn't. I had a Louisiana ball, is what the waitress called it, a Louisiana ball. And I know a little Louisiana. I know a little Cajun talk. And so when we walked in, I heard. I was in La La Land walking in. It's like I'm not expecting to see anybody I know in this place. And I hear, "Hey, the Bakers are here." I thought that's what I heard. And then some guy looks at me with a big grin on his face, and I was like, "How you doing?" And he's, "Good. How are you guys doing?" And I don't know. My eyes were adjusting from coming into a darker room from the outside, and I didn't recognize these guys. And I was like, "Do you guys know us?" And yeah, we were over at your house for something. And so I sat down and I started thinking, "Oh yeah, I remember those guys. They really caught me by surprise." And so I went over and I said, "Hey, you guys caught me by surprise. I didn't recognize you at first." And yeah, we realized that. You meet a lot of people, and don't. So we had a nice talk, and they were younger people and homesteaders, and I don't know if they were friends when they came to my place, because I seem to remember them all I seem to remember them as all separate groups, but I could be wrong. But they were definitely a group now, and it's appeared to be 3 couples. And I just watched them as we were sitting there, and I watched their energy, and they were laughing and really enjoying each other and having a good time and good, clean fun. They were just, and I went over and I talked to them a little bit, and I said, "Hey, you guys going to come over to the seed swap?" "Oh yeah, we'll be there," and I sat down and I realized how important our community is. It is very important. And when we, looking back, we've all gone through the Wu flu, and we've all been told that we have to put a diaper over our face, and we're not allowed to stand any closer than 6 feet. No more church. No more going out to the bar. None of that. You can't be doing that. And you now, I think we should all know that, it was a combination of a propaganda operation, and then a a protocol that they forced into the hospitals to try and drive a body count. And then, the propaganda made it seem way worse than it was. But we can see that now. And whoever dreamt something like that up, it seems to have been very well coordinated, right? And I just think back and it's like, whoever dreamt that up was not a really nice person. It's an understatement. And actually evil. So a lot of us that have served in the military, especially, it's not a hard sell to us that there's really evil out there. Really evil out there. And to get my feet back on the ground sometimes, I listen to Veterans Chronicles because I have to remember where I came from. And I listened to a couple of Veterans Chronicles today that really took me back. And helped me to understand that there's a bigger picture out there than just me, and just my little thing, I basically came to the farm in a lot of ways to stay the heck away from everything. I stayed pretty close to the farm for a while. I didn't adjust very well to civilian life, and it was not like I was a big trauma-based guy. I never really had any trauma other than working 12-hour shifts and getting screamed at by mean sergeants and having hydraulic oil run down into my armpits and stuff. But I never got shot at or anything like that. I was involved in a couple of plane crashes that were pretty traumatic, and I've told you guys about them. I mean, I wasn't on the airplanes. I was a crash recovery type person that had to go pick up things, airplane pieces and bodies. And that was somber, very somber, because you get into the routine of airplanes leaving, airplanes coming back, all the work involved, and then one of them doesn't come back, and it winds up being a big smoking hole. And that was kind of traumatic and stuff. But I got to thinking about our group here and our country and how important our country is, and some of the crummy countries that I've been to, and not wanting to see our country become those crummy places, and how important it is for us to come together. That is what keeps this country from becoming a crummy place. When you have that just me mentality, and instead of a we and a community mentality, it becomes crummy in a hurry, because you stop doing what's right and you do what's best for you. And we see that mentality actually in state government. We see that in the departments. Yeah, here's my chance to scumbags again, but they are more concerned with themselves and not the whole. And not too many of them, they're not good people, so they're not likely to say, hey, this ain't right, what we're doing is not right. And that is why we have to maintain community in this small farms community. We really have to maintain community, and we really have to understand that there is an entity out there that wants to destroy what we have. The joy in those people's faces at that restaurant, those 6 people that have been to my farm, been influenced, and see something much bigger. The joy that comes from that. If there's joy in it, you'll keep doing it. even though, wow, on the farm today, I got to tell you, we were comparing notes at lunchtime, and I said, man, this is just tough. It's not like it's spring, right? And we're expecting something a little bit better. But I told Jim, yeah, I was over at the barn and I realized to lift all this pallet of 2x4s that I had to lift, I need the chain, and it's over by the garden. And I was like, that's too far to walk. I just couldn't do it. But we had lunch, and then I had to run the Cadillac, and everything turned out okay. But this is a place of joy, and I think coming together at night for this show is a place of optimism and can-do attitude, all the things that make America America, all those things. I don't know. One of the things that I listened to today, I listened to Vietnam Chronicles, and this one GI, he was in his early 20s and was in Vietnam and doing what he was asked to do. He was doing what he was asked to do. He served his country. He was drafted, and they said, this is what you're going to be doing, and that's what he was doing. And he had said at one point that he had turned into something that he didn't realize, until some MPs picked him up, took him to get some clean clothes, him to get something to eat at the chow hall. And then he had to do a little bit of processing. And then they were putting him on an airplane, and he showed up in the States. So he was pulled out of the bush, and now he's in the States 3 or 4 days later, with Vietnam dirt under his fingernails and not treated very well by people. And it actually brought tears to my eyes, because I just thought, as a young person, to be treated that way is just a horrible thing. And I'm starting to see who it is that does those things, and runs that propaganda campaign. It's the same people that we see now running those prop campaigns. And I'm sickened by it, but I'm more than sickened by it. I'm angered by it now. And I see what it's done to a lot of people, how it's programmed them to be in a really bad place right now. And yeah, I don't like that. And we see the propagandists, they ruin almost everything that they can get their hands on. When you consider what the things that we talk about as farmers, you have, we produce food. My farm does anyway. So, but then you have the propagandists that will say, oh, gee, that gallon of raw milk, that's dangerous, and you're dangerous for selling it. That's the propagandists. And why do they do that? They do that, and they'll say, well, we're doing that for safety. And it's the same old thing. And so you have, in almost every industry, you have, big in front of it. So you have big pharma. Well, are pharmaceuticals bad? No. But big pharmaceutical, I don't think it's real good. I don't think it's good. I mean, because I don't know, just the feeling I get from it, when you watch a few commercials, when you don't have TV in your house, and then you watch a couple of commercials if you have to stay at a hotel, and you see that, I just get the bullshit light going off constantly. Like, these guys are lying. They're lying. because it's so fake. And after a while, you kind of like, yeah, you know. And then you have the same thing with big food, you know. The availability of that food, the quality of that food, the low price of that food, it's all fake. And it's, when you see it, it's just like, I don't believe it. And then big media, you know, it's so much fake. And why is, you know, what's fake about it, you might ask, but it's just the messaging that is in it. And, you know, I'm kind of to the point where I could care less, because I have my own thing that I do, and I really don't care what they say, because it doesn't affect me. I pay little attention to it. And then you have like big labor, you know, you have the unions, big labor. It's like these guys getting paid unbelievable amounts of money, and they do very little work. Where when in the real world, in a real scenario, like, we work very hard and we don't make near the money that they make, right? I don't know. You can see it everywhere. You can even see it, and I had this conversation with a friend of mine on the way home today, is the mission of the churches, right? And what they're supposed to engage on, but they're the biggest advocates of separation of church and state, you know, which is, I don't know where that came from. It's not in the Bible. It's not in the Constitution. You know, it's part of, I think it was a letter that, or maybe in the Federalist Papers or something like that. But the gist of it was, what the First Amendment says is the state won't be a part of establishing any religion. You know, none of your friggin' business. Like, stay out of it. Let these people do these people are going to do what they want. Otherwise, you can have the state saying, no, Catholicism, it's against the law, and we can't have that, right? So you have big religion too. And if these churches were worth their salt, we wouldn't have the human tragedy that we see everywhere. You know, like in the area that I live, there's a lot of big problems, and you don't see churches doing a thing. You know, I mean, we've had problems here. We went through massive tragedies here, and the church was like, la 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 la. But now they want to be involved with you. You know, like, we don't have problems now. Yeah, that's why we want to be involved. So when we get together in these groups, we don't have to be involved with any of that. We can create our own, because they've failed. And that's why this community is so important, right? And you can see why they do not want you to talk amongst yourself. You know, sort of like prisoners. You want to keep them separated. That's why prisoners have to do the Morse code through the wall. No, we don't talk. They might plan an escape, or worse, right? So that was one of the things that I was reminded of today when we spent a little time together, how important our community is to each other. Anyway, maybe. All right. I'm going to just read through what people are writing here. And because I had to go on a rescue mission, I didn't actually get anything to eat. Does anybody else think that there's a weird energy these days? Like, I don't know, just a weird energy, like either we're on the precipice of something really neat, or the eve of destruction. I mean, I'd like to know how people think. I wish we were like all together right now so we could talk. All right. Okay, Dave Smith is with us. Not just live and fed, but thrive on the homestead. That really needs to be the message, doesn't it? Right? Because I think the message that the other side puts out is, you evolved from an amoeba, and someday you're going to be dead like a dog. So the work that you do here doesn't really matter. And I don't think that's true. I really don't think that's true. I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that. And thriving is not just monetary thriving. That's part of it, right? Monetary would be, I don't think it's necessarily money, but like if you have 2 pigs that propagate and you started with 2 and now all of a sudden you got 14, well, you're way ahead. You have gained. And how much of that gain did you as a farmer, as a human being actually have on that? How much say did you have on that? Not really much. I mean, it's a pretty good gift when you think about it. Same thing. I love to use that the parable of the tomato seed, I'll call it. Where you start with a tomato seed and you wind up with 10 bushels of tomatoes off a tomato. Well, let's say 5. Let's say 3 from a tiny little seed and a couple of yards or maybe a square foot of dirt and a little bit of effort, maybe trellising up a tomato plant, you wind up with a bushel of tomatoes. What's that bushel of tomatoes worth? Let's say that it's worth, I don't know, is Bryce here? What's a bushel of tomatoes worth? It's got to be worth $20, I would think. Probably more than that. I haven't bought tomatoes in so long. I have no idea. How much, when you buy tomatoes and you get 4 tomatoes in a thing at the store, what does that cost? It's got to be $2, right? So a bushel of them would have to be worth $30, I'm thinking. Anyway, the difference between a tomato seed and $30 worth of a bushel of tomato, that's a huge dichotomy right there. So tell me that there ain't no money in farming. That is a lie from the pit of hell. This farming, what we're doing, this process is a gift given to us by the Creator, because the Creator is the one that put together male and female pigs, that created them. We as farmers, we just open the gate. We let them together, and then they give us all this. So the thought that there's not abundance in this world is a lie. It's an absolute lie. And where do lies come from? Yeah, hit that thumbs up, Andy. Right on, man. Let's get this. Debbie Van Fossen. Thank you, Andy, for the reminder to cough in the elbow. Cough in the elbow and spit close to your foot or spit in your hand. Right? No more shaking hands. Yeah, okay. Angus says they break people, same as breaking young kids in school. Well, they try. They try, but they're not getting us. They're not getting us. Okay. Huh. Keith is saying to me, it feels like the calm before the storm or the eye of the hurricane. Yeah. Could be. Could be. All right. Well, I've been feeling like this is going to be the best summer that we've had, because in my family, we're more prepared for it than we ever have. Like we always have to prepare coming out of winter for the things that have to happen in the spring to really harness the abundance of the farm life. We're going to harness that. I've got so many things that I have to get done. I'm really looking forward to it. I think the big thing for us, I got a meeting with Joe tomorrow, me, Jill, and Joe, and we're going to be talking about the schoolhouse build. And I think we're probably going to be starting work on that like next week. I've got half the materials, and we've got quite a bit of the dollars that we need allocated for the parts. Here's what we're going to do on day or seed swapping day. And let me explain what that is. That's going to be on the 16th of April. It's a Saturday. And if Honey Caffeine is here, I couldn't get Easter moved to the next weekend. So I'm sorry about that. I tried to see what I could do. Nancy Dort, I heard that you're coming down to the United States for seed day, and you're going to bring some seeds with you from Canada. I heard that. A little birdie told me that. I hope it's true. All of you should come if you could. It's just a one-day thing. We start at 10 o'clock. We have coffee and yak and stuff, and then everybody who has seeds, bring them, and maybe you could bring them in baggies or something so we can break them up. Whatever you got. If you got seedlings, I might have some mushroom spores. Whatever you got, bring it with you. If you don't have anything, don't bring it then. Just come and have fun with us. We're just going to talk and eat, maybe bring a dish to pass. We'll probably put some stuff on the bobby. I'll have the big barbecue going. It doesn't take much to get that going. And we'll probably have a lunch, and that's it. Really, there's nothing planned. But we are going to have a silent auction. And the idea of this, if you've never been to a silent auction, if you have something that you would like to put in the auction, then you can. You just bring it, and we're going to have an area, like some tables set up. And if you have something really neat, bring it, and then people can bid on that, right? So bring money. Bring a lot of money with you. Bring a lot of cash with you. And when the silent auction's over, the highest bidder gets it. And then those dollars, whatever it is, go right here into the classroom, at the schoolhouse fund. And that would really be nice. That would be super nice. We've actually got some donations that came in a while back of receptacles, plugs, switches, wire, things of that nature, building materials. So if you have things like that, that'd be nice too. The biggest expense on that is going to be the spray foam insulation, actually. But the nature of that build, it's, I've told you guys, and I've even shown it in the video, but it's the barn basement, and that's where they used to milk the cows. We broke out a lot of the old floor that was in there, old concrete, and hauled it out. So a lot of work's already been done. And now we got to grade that, and then it needs to be a little warmer than it is before we can get the concrete poured. And then once we have a floor down there, we're going to build petitions and set them up, and we're going to blow in spray foam insulation behind that. And the idea of that is to create sort of a zone where vermin cannot be, where the mice can't be. And that stuff actually keeps mice away. They don't like it. And then we'll be able to build out on the outside of that. And get the wiring done and all that stuff that we need to do. And then we'll have a nice little place where people can be when we're doing classes. Right now, we do classes of only 12 people in our hog harvest class, but we're going to up it to 16 once we have this built, because we'll have the space for it. We can actually break people off into different groups doing things. It's really neat how this whole thing has evolved. But all the money that comes in the silent auction is going to go towards the schools. Now, let's say that we get way more than we need to do this build, which right now it's looking like it's going to be about $15,000, or maybe a little more. Then we would bank that and prepare for the next thing. And I don't know what that is, but the next thing could be something like a kind of a bigger hall, a much bigger hall, sort of like a venue type thing. So someday, if we're going to have a bigger event, maybe not a teaching event, but just some sort of, some type of event, which could happen, because this movement is really, really happening. And I just feel as though it's going places. It's going places. The farm community is coming together, and a lot of people like you all are saying, no, I want a more intentional life. I want to be part of this. I want to be part of this homesteading community and small farms community. So I would like that very much so. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. We'll stay where we are. We'll fortify the position that we have. That's fine. I tell you what, something that's on the horizon that I would really like to do. Like, our mission is to inspire, motivate, and empower. And like when Andy was up here, he had to stay in town. And I think it would be a lot better if the next time you come, Andy, that there is a straw bale house down in back that the community has built. So we get to have like a 3-day workshop where we're going to build a straw bale house. I've never done it, but there's plenty of people that have, and plenty of people that I know, because I have a lot of contacts in the farm community and in the craftsman community. And if I said, hey, we need somebody to come head this up, and we need people to volunteer, come do it, I think people would, just so they can see how it's done. And then we can use it as a residence on this farm. So when there is some sort of a training going on, a homestead hog harvest, you could stay there instead of staying downtown. I'd much rather have you stay in our hotel than downtown's hotel. And then maybe later on, I used to work at a kids camp that actually had a hotel. It was called the Hotel, and it had a chow hall on the first floor, a beautiful porch on it that you walk out. It was adequate, but it was nice. It was probably built in the 40s when church camps were big. And the girls stayed in the hotel. And the dining hall was in the hotel. And then the boys' quarter was a different place. But that'd be neat. That'd really be cool. If you're going to do some sort of event where people needed to stay, for a week, let's say, like Tribe Day. That's not a week, but I don't know. You never know. You never know where it's going to go. And it would be very inspirational if something like that were to happen. I cut my teeth on quite a few things. I don't think I've told you guys this story, but I was at this church camp, and this was early on. This was when I was stationed at Loring, and this was shortly after the plane crash that changed my life forever. And I had to be away from the camp for a day. So I left the camp and I drove up to Caribou for a court proceeding that I had been involved in. And while I was there, there was a hailstorm that hit the camp. And when I got back down into that area where the church camp was, Mars Hill, Maine, actually, things were kind of strange. When we left, it was summertime, it was July, and it was foliage everywhere. Maine is beautiful. It's a lot of foliage. And the camp was down this road, and there was cornfield on one side, and there was a potato field on the other side, and they were both flat. I mean, it looked like somebody had taken every plant, whether it was a corn plant or a potato plant, put it in a blender, and then spit it back out. It was flat. Drove down into the camp. It was completely defoliated. All the trees on both sides were completely defoliated. Completely, right? Cars that were facing, whether they were backed in or pulled in straight. The hailstones came down on an angle and broke out back windows, broke out windshields, smashed taillights. I mean, these cars looked like they had been machine gunned. It was unbelievable. And there were still hailstones on the ground that were the size of peaches when I got there. The sanctuary was a steel building, and the kids were in there when it happened. And they said it sounded like a freight train was going through it. It was incredible. The hotel, the south side of the hotel, a good share of the windows on the south side were gone. The roof on the hotel had old shingles on it. They were old, and they were pretty brittle, apparently, because what happened was that hailstorm just obliterated the roof on that, right? But nobody could see it. It was a 2-story building. And when I got there, it was probably 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And shortly after 5 o'clock was mealtime. So then we're going into a hotel to eat. There was probably 60 kids in the camp and all the counselors and stuff. And it was weird because I had not been there when it happened, and it seemed like the people that were there were strangely happy, and the place was devastated, and they were strangely happy and lighthearted. And I don't know, maybe what I had just come out of in the court case was not good. And then they would have what they call canteen, and that's where the kids can go to this little building and they can buy candy. And then they have like evening, activity, which sometimes would be, games or whatever. And then there would be a campfire. And it was just, the kids were really wore out. And while we were sitting at the campfire, all of a sudden, lightning came up real bad. And then it started to rain. And the raindrops were huge. And the camp director, who was a pastor, said, "Okay, time to head up." And the kids started walking. And then it started raining more, and then they started running, and all of a sudden it was like panic set in. And now at this time, I'm walking slowly because there was a lot of wind and the campfire was getting blown around, and I thought I need to stay behind to make sure that I get this put out. And so I'm level-headed. I mean, I'm getting pelted with rain, but nothing in me is saying it's time to panic. But those kids running towards the hotel and the boys' quarters were screaming. And these were teens. And it was a little odd. And I could see it, but I don't think I'm not sure the adults that were there could see it. I think they were panicked as well. And so we went up, and then it started to rain hard, and the rain just came right through the hotel, right down to the first floor. And it was a pretty panicky situation. Yeah, so that was, never seen anything like that. And then the next day was the end of that session, and the kids' parents were showing up, and we were kind of busy getting glass out of people's suitcases, and the kids were pretty devastated by this whole thing, and parents were coming down there like, wow, what happened here? And it's like it hit this camp and not too much else, but it devastated it. But the men of those churches around there, they descended on the place, and before the next camp, the next session, which would have been Monday, the place was fixed. All the windows fixed. They even had new lawn chairs. The lawn chairs were all scrounged lawn chairs by the pool. And honestly, when I looked at them, I'd never seen lawn chairs that had been machine gunned, but that's what I would think that they would look like. They were destroyed. There was not one lawn chair that you can sit in by hailstones. Yeah. And not one kid was hurt. Not one. So there was one pastor that was a hero, actually, in my opinion. I still remember the guy really well. And he was a youth pastor, and he took off out of there because he wanted to make sure that all the kids were in. And he got a cut on his cheek from here to here, like a scrape, a deep scrape. Didn't need to be stitched or anything, but I didn't know how that happened, and he says, I don't know how it happened either. But he was driven back into the sanctuary by the hailstones. That's how bad they were. Yeah, never seen anything like it. Anyhow, Crunchy's with us. Crunchy's got some problems, potential problems with his prosciuttos. Says they smell like blue cheese. And Jill and I really kind of like played back our memory banks, and I don't remember ever encountering that. But I just know what blue cheese smells like, and that is a blue cheese that's in that cheese is actually mold. But it is a blue mold. And I haven't encountered blue mold in charcuterie. So I don't know if you've dug anything up on that. If you would, it'd be good to share it. But I would be looking at that stuff real close. And I would also be like probing it. Huh. He's saying, yeah. Did you chip any of that off and look under it? I would. I think that's what I would do. I would scrape some of that off and get under there. Now, wait a minute. Oh, you must have just killed these pigs because these came from January. What about the ones from January? Are they okay? Or it's just these new ones? I probably should talk with you on the phone because I have to ask you questions and I need answers right away. Like, did you... Okay, so today's... These are the January ones. And you're just... Oh, well, 3 days later... When was that? When was that 3 days later? That's critical. because that should have been done about a month after we left. So that should have been done in February. So have they been like that? I had waited to put the until now. Oh, okay. Until now, meaning last Sunday or the Sunday before? Because that's critical. We should have talked to you on the phone. All right. Jill's seeing this now, so she'll be able to piece this one together, I think. So they made it until then. If they made it until then, put the lard flour on last week. I think it is something to do with the lard flour mix. Yeah, sounds like it. I wonder what the procedure is to prepare that lard flour mix. Because I think putting the lard on, you're bringing it to temperature. You're bringing it way up to temperature. You're getting it good and hot, so you're killing everything. And that's going to, it's sort of like when you have a jar with meat in it, and then you cover that with hot lard. You know, you're killing everything because of the temperature and sealing it up. So I wonder if you didn't introduce something when you put that on. Like, did you put it on cool or just not hot enough? And you're probably home now, so you can't check it right now. And I think we ought to have a phone call tomorrow. Yep. I think we better have a home. But just prepare yourself, okay? Prepare yourself. I have lost probably 10 prosciuttos. There you go. That's the critical point. Mixed at room temperature. Yep. Okay. I think that's the incorrect way to do it. I do. Yep. But let's see what Jill says, and let's have a phone call, because you may be able to bring that back. If you got a mold going, let's say, on the surface of that prosciutto, and like we've had it where you have prosciutto and it's gross, you know, it's got green mold on it. You take, first thing you do is you hit that with hot water and blast that stuff off of there. And then you've just opened the pores of that meat up, and then you hit it with vinegar, and you put an end to that stuff. Now, it sounds to me like that's what you got going. I wish you were there and you could scrape that off and take a look at it. And if that's what it is, I'll bet you're going to be taking the hot water to it and just blowing that off, and you'll be able to start over again. It smells strong, but good. Straight up blue cheese, huh? Is anybody Googling that? Where's Jack when you need him? I'm expecting him to pipe in. Oh, that is the square root of. But you know what? The times when I have lost prosciuttos is when a fly gets in there. And I don't think that's what you're dealing with right now. I think you're dealing with a mold. And, you know, for a mold to completely take over a prosciutto, it could take some time. And you're just smearing them now. I don't even know why I would have done that. I don't think I would have done that. I think I would have just left them. We don't do that. We don't do it. We just leave them. It's okay. Maybe you haven't. How many were there? How many prosciuttos were there? Okay. And where's your hanging room anyway? did you put together a hanging room? Mix that room temperature. I think that's the problem right there. All right, you guys, I'm going to get going. 9:19. Nice evening. Looking forward to spring starting. I will. Oh. Tribe Days, July 9th. Very important that you attend if you can. Very important. This is not just, oh, that'd be fun. No, this is important. This community is important. So let's take this seriously. I need a topic. I need several topics for the week. Okay. I'll put my thinking cap on, but you guys need to help me out with this, please. I need you to do that. And also, I would like you to take sharing this and thumbs ups and all that stuff, all the social media things that you can do. Take it seriously. Please take it seriously and step out of your comfort zone and share this. It's very important. It really is. I've thought that, hey, sitting down for an hour every night is like, I got better things to do with my time. But something has told me, no, stay with it. And conversations and revelations and all this stuff makes me realize that, no, this is important. This needs to be done. And so I need you guys to do what you need to do here in just sharing this. Share the Anyone Can Farm experience with everybody on your thing, on your Facebook page or your YouTube, whatever it is. Share it with everybody. And maybe put a little note in there that you believe that this is an important thing. And I think that the power is that we have a ton of influence, but we just think, no, nobody cares. People do care. I had to stop at the plumbing supply place today. And the gal that works in the back where you pay, I mean, I've been seeing her for 18 years. And the last couple of years I've been going in there, or about the last year, you go in, she's got her face mask on, and I don't talk to her. And she didn't talk to me. And she's all scared and everything. Poor thing. I feel bad for her. But today she didn't have it on, and she needed to talk. Very, very important. And something in me said, no, just take your time. I know you got to get home and get that water heater fixed. Now you take your time, talk with her. It's important to do this. Take it or realize that this is important, right? It is very important for our country. All right, I'm going to go. Anyone Can Farm. See you tomorrow.